Recently, as I'm sure you know, I did make a video on this, DICE and EA gave away the Dragon's Teeth DLC for Battlefield 4, meaning lots of players who hadn't bought into the premium system or hadn't bought the DLC would have a chance to try out the maps, the weapons, the assignments, and the gadgets. But most of all, they'd have a chance to try out the Chainlink game mode, what I believe to be one of the best infantry game modes available for the Battlefield franchise. A lot more servers have popped up recently, some really good 32 to 48 man servers that are only running Chainlink in the rotation, and it's really given me a chance to appreciate what a good game mode this actually is. So for those who don't know, Chainlink is actually a very self-explanatory game mode. Link the objectives on the map and push for dominance. If you capture an objective in the middle of an enemy's chain, you break their flow of tickets and your team's score reduction slows down. The more objectives that you hold in a line, the faster you deplete the enemy team's tickets. You can essentially consider this a larger form of domination, except the tickets will deplete a lot faster if you have control of the majority of the objectives. You can also say it's a large-scale infantry version of Conquest, with a big focus on taking and holding those objectives. When the DLC first came out, I know for a fact that a lot of people really enjoyed this game mode. But just like most other DLC game modes available in Battlefield 4, as soon as the DLC's been out for about a month, everyone kind of transitions away again and goes back to playing what they enjoy. They're using the new weapons, but they may not be taking advantage of the game modes and the maps that they were given in the DLC. This is a byproduct of splitting the community by making them pay for map packs, and that's something that I'll talk about in another video in the future. I think it's a really good topic to discuss. But today, you can only play Chainlink on 5 maps in this game. 4 of them being in the Dragon's Teeth DLC, and the other one is Operation Outbreak, which is the community map. DICE LA decided to include Chainlink on there as well. For the game mode to really work at its best, it needs to be on a map that suits the flow of backwards and forwards gameplay. The game mode needs linearity in certain aspects to be at its best, so that's a little bit like Rush. And there's probably no map more suited than Propaganda, which is one of the maps included in the Dragon's Teeth DLC, and it's set in North Korea. Only part of the map is used for the game mode, and that's fairly normal in Battlefield. And while it's a very much a linear map, there are loads of flanking routes that you can use to loop around the enemy, capture their points, and change the game totally. The game mode is always changing. 1 minute you're in the lead, capturing points moving forward, when suddenly you realise you've been flanked and flags behind you have been captured, and you've got to scramble together before the enemy break out and take more capture points. It's this natural flow that keeps the gameplay fresh, fast and exciting, and you've always got to be on alert in case the enemy does something that you don't expect. There aren't too many occasions that you'll find yourself locked together at one point either. The game mode lends itself to this constant moving of capturing flags, moving on, backtracking, capturing a few more, then coming back to where you were just a few minutes later to take that objective back again. You're very unlikely to actually find a team who would camp a few flags in Chainlink. It doesn't pay to camp flags in this game mode. You need to be moving around all the time to try and capture as many flags as you can. The more you have, the faster you deplete the enemy ticket count. Now, I mentioned that Chainlink works best on linear maps. I believe that to be the truth, and on Propaganda the game mode just seems to play out better than any other map that you can play. But don't get me wrong, the game mode still works very well on less linear maps as well, and the best example is Pearl Market, where the flags are spaced vertically all over the buildings, and again that offers a lot of different routes around, so you never really get stuck in a choke point. Sometimes you will find that gameplay does get a little bit clogged up in the stairways, but that can be cleared very quickly by a flanking squad or simply pushing through out onto the rooftop to see if you're able to take it and get yourself a vantage point. There always seems to be a counter to any offensive made by either team, and that to me signals the game mode is something that works really well in Battlefield. no matter what the situation, there's this point where there's a chance that either side of the battle could win and progress forward. There's no one overall weapon that can defeat the other. There's no one overall choke point that you must hold to win the round. There's always a chance that someone else could come out on top. Another thing that makes the game mode very appealing to me at least, and if you've watched my channel for a while, you will know that I'm mainly an infantry player when it comes to Battlefield. It's the lack of heavy vehicles. There's no fear that someone's going to come along and steamroll the entire server with a tank or bother you from the sky with a little bird for the entire round. It allows the infantry on the ground to take a few more risks with their gameplay, push forward in places that they might not normally because usually there's a tank round the corner waiting to kill them. It allows the gameplay to flow a little bit more organically rather than being stunted by some heavy vehicle that you're not prepared to take down. And that's not a criticism of vehicles at all. They do have a place on battlefields, but the Chainlink game mode being a fast-paced game mode, if you introduce vehicles, that would likely break the balance and lead to the game mode being way less fun than it otherwise would be. Other game modes like Conquest Small and Domination do offer a similar round-the-loop gameplay where you go and capture objectives and move round, but it doesn't have that added linking mechanic. And I think that adds a little bit of flavour to the old flag capture recipe that is essentially Conquest. It's a really, really fun game mode for infantry, and it has a big focus on making sure you as a team keep the objectives in your hands. Just by having that line linking two objectives together, you deplete the enemy tickets faster than if you were to just hold one objective. And that's an incentive to go and capture more so that you can win the round quicker. Communicating with your friends and squad mates is something that's kind of falling off a little bit in Battlefield at the moment. It's still encouraged, but the way that the game's evolving is that you don't have to do that as much. In Battlefield 1, there's going to be a big focus on team play, and Chainlink is actually a really good game mode for that. So it would be cool to see a stylized version of Chainlink make its way into Battlefield 1. There's always this emphasis on you working as a team. I'd love to see it make an appearance again at some point in the Battlefield franchise, maybe even make it a staple game mode like Rush or Conquest. I really do think it is that good. But anyway, thanks very much for watching. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts on Chainlink. Do you love it like me, or is it a game mode that you haven't really touched because you don't have the DLC? Let me know down below, and while you're down there, drop me a like if you enjoyed the video and a dislike if you didn't. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.